So one of the questions that people often are curious about is what foods are good to break a fast with, and does it matter if you have protein, for example, or carbohydrates or fat? And in this video, I hope to help you address some of the science, and I'm going to lean on an old paper. This was published in 1982. Well, it's actually the year I was born, so it's not that old, but it's getting there. And so interestingly, what these scientists kind of summarized, and this is a great paper, you can find it for free on the internet. I'll put links below where you can download this. And what these researchers figured out is after they fasted subjects between 72 and 96 hours, they found that having a lot of carbohydrates, and let me pause, I'm not demonizing carbohydrates, I'm literally just sharing the science that was offered in this paper, but they found that when these individuals had a lot of carbohydrates in a post-fast window, they gained weight, and they had a lot of water accumulation, even so far as some individuals had edema. And so I don't know if you've ever experienced that, where you have so much accumulation of water in your tissues, where if you press your fingers down, you can still see the mark of the finger imprints from pressing it down, right? Again, I'm not demonizing carbohydrates, but if you're fasting for health, perhaps having a lot of carbohydrates as a breaking your fast meal is not a good idea. Again, I carb cycle all the time. I have carbs when I do leg day, when I do back, certain high intensity, intervals and stuff. I have carbohydrates. But when I break my fast, this is particularly important if the fast is, say, longer than 24 hours. If it's 36 hours, 72 hours, I recommend doing like a 50-hour or 72-hour fast every fiscal quarter. I think it's just good practice, good medicine, good health to enhance autophagy, give your bowel a rest, and help blood sugar regulation. There's various reasons why you should fast and why you might want to do a prolonged fast sprinkled in throughout your calendar year. But again, you don't want to have a bunch of sweet potatoes or French fries or bread as your meal. Why? Because it can increase weight gain, water retention, and it can really cause a surge in glucose and insulin. And remember, when you've been fasted, one of the benefits linked with fasting is you're driving that glucose down, you're driving that insulin down, and that's enabling you to dip into body fat stores to utilize them for energy creation and production. So I think it's kind of intuitive. It kind of makes sense that if we've been fasted, we shouldn't have a lot of carbohydrates in the post-meal window. Again, it doesn't mean carbs are bad. It doesn't mean they're evil. It doesn't mean that insulin is this thing that is the sole reason why we're gaining weight. There's many reasons why people gain weight. But based upon research that's over 36 years old at this point, scientists have figured out that, in the post-fast window, carbohydrates can maybe not be so ideal. So what does that mean? That means eggs. In terms of food that you should break your fast with, it can be protein and fat, and that's what I recommend. Oftentimes, what I do, and my wife has figured this out, through doing OMAD, is when you're breaking your fast, it can help to have a whey protein and collagen protein shake to sip on it. Because there's a natural tendency, because you haven't had food for say 24, 36, 48, 72 hours, you're going to be hungry. And you can make emotional decisions and start to feel like you can afford to eat certain quantities of food and can literally overeat food. And this is called refeeding syndrome. It can happen to people. So I recommend just kind of buffering things a little bit with a whey protein shake, a little collagen. Full disclosure, I do have a supplement company that offers that. You don't need to, you can use any brand you want. We do offer really clean grass-fed, grass-finished products that have science and are studied for heavy metals and residual solvents. So they're very clean products. But we found that this just helps to curb that appetite a little bit so that when food's in front of you, you can slow down and mindfully chew the food and eat the food without just scarfing a bunch of stuff down and having dessert and overdoing it, right? So that's just a little tip that we've figured out. Plus, whey protein innately, due to the amino acid constituents, have properties that kind of help with satiety and appetite. So those are just some tips that I would